Hello, 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 Facebook friends and Facebook family. How are you guys doing today? Welcome to February 5th, which is Black History Month. I've been sharing literature with you, Black History Awareness information with you for the past 14 days. Today is day 15. I'm going to be covering the Million Man March today. But first off, we're going to give you a trivia question. Our trivia question is going to be about Malcolm X. And I need to know if you can share with me if you know when Malcolm X was born, what day, what year. We're not going to say the date. Just what year was Malcolm X born, and then how old was he when he passed away. So what year was Malcolm X born, and then how old was he when he passed away. So we're going to talk about the Million Man March, and I do hope that you share this Facebook Live because there are so many children that don't know about the Million Man March, and we need to share our Black heritage. We need to share things that our African Americans fought for back in the day that they're not aware of. Okay? They fought for us to be able to vote. And I'm going to share this on each one of my Facebook Lives because I think it's very important that someone goes out and die and fight for us to vote, and then so many of us don't go out and vote. So, yes, I'm hoping that you'll share my Facebook Lives, share them. Instead of reading to your child at night, share this Facebook Live before they go to bed at night, and then they can understand, know their Black heritage. So now with that being said, we're going to talk about the march, the Million Man March. Million Man March. In 1995, Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan, he proposed a call to action for Black men. A call to action for Black men. This is historically referenced as the Million Man March. Farrakhan was assisted in organizing this event by Benjamin F. Chavez Jr., who was the former executive director of the NAACP. Now, you would be amazed at how many of our children, how many of our teenagers, our young adults do not know what NAACP stand for. So I'm going to put this in the feed once I finish with the Facebook Live. It stands for National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. National Association for the Advancement for Colored People. Every single African American should know what NAACP stands for. Now, the call to action represented or requested that the participants pay their own way to the mall in Washington and allow their physical appearance to illustrate a commitment to change in the Black community. Now, since their arrival in the country, since the African Americans' arrival in this country, African Americans have faced unfair treatment, often based on nothing other than the color of their skin. Since their arrival in this country, African Americans have faced unfair treatment, even today, often based on nothing but the color of their skin. In the 1990s, the unemployment rate for African Americans was nearly double that of whites. Double that of whites. Additionally, the Black community was plagued by high rates of drug use, along with extremely high rates of imprisonment that can still be seen today. 2019, high rates of imprisonment, high rates of drug use, now high rates of police brutality. We need to have our information shared with our children so they can be aware. Hello, Lester. Thank you for joining me. Yes, I am persistent. So according to Minister Farrakhan, Black men needed to seek forgiveness. This is Farrakhan's, this is what he thought. Forgiveness for allowing related factors to come between them and their position as leaders in the Black community and providers for their family. As a result, the theme for the Million Man March was atonement. Now, though those words has multiple definitions, Two of them, in particular, illustrated the aim of the march. The first was reparation for the offense or injury, because in the eyes of the black man had forsaken their community. Because in the eyes, black men had forsaken their community. The second was reconciliation. I got it right. Of God and humankind. He believed that black men had been ignoring the role bestowed upon them by God and needed to restore the relationship. Hello, beautiful Mimi. Thank you so much for joining my Black History Awareness Day. Today is February 15th. 15 whole days of sharing Black History Month, and I'm so proud. I'm hoping that everyone will share and like my podcast and share this with our children. So, on October 16th of 1995, that dream became a reality, and hundreds and thousands of black men showed up in the mall on Washington. Black community leaders was so touched, and so was I, by the image of black men making a commitment to their families, and that it was referred to as a glimpse of heaven. Farrakhan explicitly stated that there would be no violence and no alcohol present at this march. And according to the records, there was zero arrests and fights. Zero arrests and zero fights for that day. I have a picture here of the Million Man March. Look at all of those men. If that isn't powerful, for them to show up and say, yes, I'm going to attend the Million Man March. So Farrakhan, this event was reported to have lasted 10 hours. These guys standing there for 10 hours. And for each of those hours, black men stood listening, weeping, laughing, and simply being. 1.1 million men stood for 10 hours, and they stood there listening, weeping, laughing, and simply being. Although Farrakhan, I'm going to leave that there so you can see it. Although Farrakhan is a controversial figure to many blacks and whites, Americans alike must agree that this display of commitment to community change was a positive action. Those who did not support the march often did so based on accusations of separatist agenda. While there were white people and women in attendance, the call to action was specifically targeted at black men. Some men felt that this was both sexist and racist, but they showed up. What does Gordon say? You got to show up. If you're serious, you got to show up. So the potential for change. This is the potential for change. It's difficult to measure the success that this sort of event has over the long run. However, it's believed that well over 1 million black Americans registered to vote shortly after the rates of adoption for black youth increased. Let me say that again. It's believed that well over 1 million black Americans registered to vote shortly after rates for adoption for black youth increased. Though not without criticism, the Million Man March was a significant movement